That's a good point. Yeah, so I've started the recording. So if you want me to fire that across to you, I can certainly do that as well.
Yeah, can you just go back to the last slide, Sam, just so it's on the recording?
Oh, yeah, there we go. That one.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Hope is the only thing stronger than fear. Yeah, I'll get that recording off to you. The timings, it's normally around about 90 minutes, but we'll see how we kind of get on. If I'm just going to kind of chat through most of the stuff.
Okay.
And kind of go from there. You both know me. I don't need to explain anything to you guys. And of course, that last little thing, I think you're both very, very aware of as well. It's quite funny, actually. I was delivering a session the other day and a C-17 just flew right across the top of the house. I stood up, I couldn't help it. Apologised to everybody. It was so funny. Now, you two guys have just kind of done this a little bit, but Chris, you asked David a little bit about his background. Do you want to share yours, Chris?
Yeah, sure. And if I look away, I've got a bigger screen here, so I am.
That's all right.
Yes, my background is IT and marketing. I've spent a long time in IT, traveling the world, putting in accounting systems for large companies in my time, as well as being sort of entrepreneurial, having got involved with properties, marketing, various other bits and pieces. And in the last 10 years, I guess, I've really sort of embraced the marketing as a full-time career, if you like. And I did a master's degree in digital marketing in Manchester. It's got to be 5 years ago now. Specialising in small businesses, wrote a book on it, which you can get on Amazon if you haven't got anything else to do over this quiet weekend. And I'm doing a part-time PhD in micro business marketing again at Manchester. So in the process of launching my online academy, and most small businesses fail because they fail to market. They fail to market themselves and they go straight for the sale. And as we all know, you just can't go and say, hello, my name's Fred, buy me.
Yeah.
So one of my taglines, which someone know well, is when your marketing works well, sales becomes easy. Because people understand what you do and why they need to buy from you. So you create a buying environment rather than go straight for the sale. So what I say to them is, how the hell do you expect to close if you've never opened in the first place? The marketing opens the opportunity, sales closes the deal and puts the money in the bank. So that's kind of where I'm at. And one of my ambitions is to teach small business owners, particularly micro business owners, of which there were before this blew up, about 5.5 million of it in the UK, and I suspect it will go down a little bit and then up a little bit, because a lot of people are saying, well, if that's the way they treated me during a recession, I'll go and start my own business. So I perceive lots of opportunities coming out of this in the next 12 months, and businesses fail because they don't market themselves. And my overall mission is to reverse the small business failure rates to success rates. And my reason behind that, my first business failed, and business failures don't just add to government statistics, they actually destroy lives. They do. So that's where I'm coming from.
Brilliant. Thank you, Chris. I mean, I've been working with Chris for the last few years now. And it's been quite interesting sort of watching him go through this process and all of the building and all of the hard work that he's been doing as well. So yeah, which of course links to sales, Dave. You know, you and me deliver sales training, etc. And I know quite a lot of the businesses that come through Pareto are relatively large businesses, but still nonetheless, you know, it's still very applicable. So
yeah, very much so.
Fab. Okie dokies. Now then, where's my arrows gone? There they are. I was going to say, where have they disappeared to? This computer's been acting a little bit strange last few days. We think there's been an update that's made things go awry a little. Poor Ronnie's been trying to sort it out, but anyway. Another quote, very, very pertinent, I think, at the time. It's all about, if you want to go far, we go together. And the way people are coming together, I think, at the moment is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
Very much to be commended. So just very, very quick communication. We're all connected via audio. We know that. You've opened your chat. You've opened your participant panels, which is cool. So if you can, just give me now in your participant panel, I'm going to need, and I'm just opening mine now as well. Can you just give me a green tick, just so I know that you found all of the tools? So at the bottom of your participants, underneath the list of your names, you should have, so Chris has done it.
Hold on.
So if you open your participants, David, from your bottom bar,
hold on
then
a
you'll
sec.
see ticks and crosses.
Yeah, hold on a second. I'm just reorganising big bits here.
It's all right.
That's better. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And then just pop one on, and then I know you've found it.
I can do.
There we go.
Okay.
Popped your hand up, even better.
Yeah.
Like it. Yeah, so there, use them as we go through. I mean, like I say, it's not particularly a very big group. It's great when you get lots of people on and using them. The chat panel, you can get it from that bottom toolbar because of the way I've actually set the bars up, if you like. So just send me a quick message in chat as well. But again, we'll probably keep the mics open. If nothing else, it'll help you for future sessions if you're going on, so you then know all of the tools as well.
Yep.
Perfect. So Dave's saying hello. Chris is saying, yep, lovely. We've also got, because I'm in share mode now, we've got annotation tools, which I don't know if you've ever used in Zoom before. So you're going to grab these from the very top corner of your screen. So if you go right into the center of your screen with your mouse,
Yeah.
a little bar, and then it says,
Yep.
and then on that view options, it is the fourth option down, and that's annotate.
Yep.
Bring you up
Done that.
toolbar, and then you can click on things like the T, which is the text tool. So I can, like, I don't know, write test Sam or something along them lines. See, Chris is typing there. You can select anything that you want up there. There's all sorts of different stamps, so you can put little love hearts and all sorts all over it. Again, there we go. I can see David is also using that as well. If nothing else, like I say, it gives you a little bit of a heads up. So we're going to be doing whiteboards in a little while. So use the text tool, the little T is quite useful. Yeah, and I can see Chris is clearing them down as well there, which is perfect. Now, one of the things as you only ever learn once, shall we say, when you're the facilitator. Look what happens if I move the slide on. 1 minute. It keeps everything on screen. So it's like, for God's sake. So you have to clear everything before you move the slide on. So now you've seen what's coming. Icebreaker. Have a go at doing that if you want. Again, there would have been lots of you. You can find 2 each. So this is a word search with all of the things that we're going to be talking about in today's session. Can you find any? You'll have to put your little... I'll try and find one. Hang on. Ah, I found one. Influence. There we go. And then I'll scrub it out. Think is another. I made this and I don't even know where they are. There we go. You can see Chris has found one.
With the drawing tool. Yeah.
It is. So if you go to draw and you choose the wiggly line or the one next to it, there you go. This is all this is for, to be honest, is just to get people to use the tools. And of course, it gives them something to do as well. So if you guys are doing anything like this, super easy to create these. There you go. Look at that very straight line there, David.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stop you doing that. Otherwise, we'll spend far too much time messing about with that. So I've got to clear them, as you now just know as to why. I did have in the last group, we had America, Australia, Switzerland, and all the rest of it. So I brought in a world map, but the UK map I've actually hidden the slide, so we won't bother doing that because we all know where we are anyway. So, oops, didn't mean to click that. And that's one of the other things that it does as well, is if you come off the slide by mistake, it takes you to, that one that we were on, it takes you to the beginning. If you ever click it by mistake, it's really annoying. That's one of the things that annoys me a little bit about Zoom, but other than that. So house user tools we've just been doing, current challenges we're going to be talking about in just a moment. Is there a line under there? There isn't there? Mentally tough leader or individual, because obviously we've had quite a lot of people on these that have been leading teams, etc. Developing mental toughness. We're going to concentrate quite specifically on the 4 C's. That's what the reports are made up of, and we're going to be having a look at those specifically. Mentally sensitive is the opposite to mental toughness rather than mental weakness, and we'll be having a look at that. How we can develop it, like we've just said before, influence and control, and then strategies, and we'll do a live word cloud as well, which you guys are going to need your phones to connect into in just a few minutes, well, in a little while, to create the word cloud, and I'll log in as well, and we can create that. And we'll be doing that live.
Cool.
Now, what I want to know is, and this is your first opportunity to use your text tool that was on your annotation tools. What do you specifically want to get out of the session today? And when I do this exercise with a big group, it's quite interesting sort of watching what sort of pops up, because you can really see where people are at.
I might not want that, not probably.
Oh, is that gone?
No, there you go. That'll get a better understanding of what mental toughness is. Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Chris.
How did you do that part there when you typed that on?
So when you go to your annotation tools, Dave.
Yeah, got those.
Go to text, which is the third tool along.
I haven't got that. I've got mouse, draw, arrow, eraser, colour, undo, redo, clear.
Ooh.
I know. Now, it's probably because I've got an older laptop here.
Possibly. Okay, pop it in chat then. I don't matter.
Okay.
I'll just say it. What is it that you want to get out of it?
So I just wanted, it for me is, why do we sometimes view negativity more than positivity? There we go.
Ah, okay. I'll tell you what I'll do in a bit, because we talked about this in our last session, and there was a psychologist on with us, and it was fascinating, some of the things that she was coming out with. So yeah, okay. we'll come to that, and I'll do something else with you in a little while as well.
Okay.
And Chris just wants to get a better understanding of what mental toughness is, which is fabulous. Okie dokies then. So I'll have to clear that down, obviously, as you well know, but don't worry, I've saved it. And we can bring that, come back to that in a little while anyway. So ground rules, I think you know what they are. Oh, go on, Chris.
Yeah, you said you saved it. How do you save it?
So you've got on your annotation toolbar, I don't know if you've got that as a delegate. Oh yeah, you've got save. So what I can do if I want to, in a little while, I can open that slide back up, which I've just done. I can then bring that back into session and share it with you.
Right. Okay.
It's the only platform that you can do that with in such ease. It's lovely. Nice piece of functionality, that.
Right.
Because everything that you have open on your desktop, you can share. So it's nice. They're the ground rules. Again, I'm not going to go into them in any great detail. Minimize distractions, etc. If it was a bigger group, I'd obviously be jumping on you and coming to you and keeping you really busy, but we'll just keep it dead conversational. So challenges, I was going to do a breakout room again with lots of you, but there's no point in doing it just with the two of you. So what are the current challenges that you two guys are facing at the moment that you would say is giving you a bit of grief?
Trying to give myself a kick at the ass and do what my coach tells me to do.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So you're not doing as you're told.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a strange few weeks, and but obviously, as you know, I'm a bit not in my usual environment, which is been a bit of a distraction, and working on a very small desk compared to my usual comfortable.
Yeah.
So I've got lots of excuses, but I would normally say I don't give excuses, I give reasons. But I know you're not going to let me get away with that.
Maybe not get away with that right now, but great that you're recognising that they're excuses, because then when we know that, we can do something about them. So yeah, absolutely. How's your coach challenging you at the moment around those?
She's pushed me to go back and do networking online, because we normally live in the Isle of Man, Dave, so I didn't get a chance to do any networking over there. We're down in Swindon now. So she's been challenging me to go and do stuff online to get more clients, and I'm sort of resisting. No, I've got to do the other stuff first. which I do have to do, and I've got a couple of clients I'm doing a little bit of work for. But I could do with some more coaching clients because one, as soon as they closed down the Isle of Man, he went, "Oh, I'm stopping." So, damn, that was my best customer. So, so that was a bit of a disappointment. So I'm also trying to launch my online course, which, as you know, Sam, has been sort of I've been inching towards for a while, and I think now I should pull my finger out and get it done. I've just read a couple of books on things to bring me up to date with a few things that I wanted and think needed to do, which has been a good refresher. And building a website for a colleague, and that's going to help me refresh my technical and copywriting skills, which then is going to put me in the position to finish off my website, which was probably one of my goals for last year.
Yeah, yeah. And now we're in April, but then we didn't exactly expect it.
I had a few distractions, Sam, so you know what it was.
I do, absolutely. What about your challenges, Dave?
It's a strange one for me. I'm so used to being busy and I haven't got enough time in my day. What I find frustrating is not having a direction at the moment.
Yeah. So
I don't know timescales. Am I likely to come back off furlough? When might I come back? So if I allow myself to think about it, I find that quite unnerving instead of just going with the flow. So it surprises me because because of the research I do, I'd like to think I've got a grip of it, but I think you've got to be honest with yourself here. And I find that strange. So a couple of times I've gone through a day thinking, I haven't done enough here. I should be doing something else.
Right.
And so I, as you know, do an awful lot of work weekends as well. And I think that's something that it's sneaked up on me, which I didn't think it would.
Interesting. Right. Okay. It's funny, isn't it, when we have such busy lives and then all of a sudden we don't.
Yeah.
We start to realise as well what actually we fill our time with.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess, was I a busy fool or maybe not? I don't know. But I almost feel a little guilty if I take half an hour out to go and do something else. You know, I've played, like the other day, I played Cluedo with my young daughter.
Right.
And I thought I should welcome the opportunity to do that because I can't do much else. But it's a strange one.
It feels weird, doesn't it? You feel a bit guilty for not working.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that quite sad? Don't know.
No, I don't think it is. And I think you're not on your own, if I'm honest, Dave. I really do try and keep ourselves so busy because we're so used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. But I think it also gets things in perspective, like we said before. And you were mentioning, and this is something about mental toughness, is very much worked around about why you're thinking what you're thinking, why are you doing what you're doing, etc. And that's exactly how all of the reports are written. It's all about that metacognition.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. So we'll talk about that in a little while.
Good.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, guys, for sharing. If I'm honest, working from home, I've always done a little bit, as you know, as we probably all have to some degree, but I'm finding a lot of people are struggling to keep themselves motivated. Don't quite know, you know, do I put the washing out? Do I not? What do I do? It's quite hard for sort of people juggling as well. If you've got a team, how do I know what they're doing? Because I've no idea. And that can be a big problem. You know, it's that trust element, isn't it? And a little bit like what you were saying there about you don't know when your furlough is going to end.
Yeah.
That then can start to knock into trust. You know, trust with that employer or with that person that you've worked with for a long time, etc. And it really starts to break down those trust relationships that we had previously.
Yeah.
Which you don't really think about at first. A lot of people are really struggling with how do I lead my team remotely? How do I change the way I've done things? How do all of a sudden I now move into this virtual world when I've never done it before? I don't know how many times I've heard that over the last few weeks. Not technically minded. I've heard that 1,000 times over the last few weeks. I can't do it. I've never done this sort of thing before. I ain't got a clue what I'm doing. How can I take care of my well-being as well as people around me? Whether it be your team, your family, your friends, it doesn't make any difference who it is. That working from home, like I've just mentioned a few moments ago, because I think a lot of people are really struggling with that. And exactly like what you've just been saying there, it's that work-life balance, isn't it? Can I go have half an hour and play Cluedo and it's okay?
Yeah.
Or can I not?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are really juggling that. And it's
Yeah, I
that
think just pick up on that point there. It's giving yourself permission to do it. Then you don't feel guilty because, you know, you might go and play half an hour of Cluedo with your daughter, let's just say 10 o'clock in the morning. And if you normally would be work, say 9 till 5, is there anything wrong with working from 5 till half 5 on your work job to kind of make up?
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think
It
this
is.
is the balance. And I've been working from home for a long time. And sometimes it will be sort of very late into the evening, won't it, Sam?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think for me, part of the problem is, well, because I don't watch much TV and I'm not that interested in TV, if I'm not working, what am I doing? And it's taking that time out to do other things. So then you end up being busy. So, for example, you take a task that would take maybe 20 minutes, like your finances, and you end up making sure that the spreadsheets are absolutely polished to the nth degree when they don't need to be, and it takes 4 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. It is, and I think that's a good point, actually, Chris, about giving yourself that permission. Because it's a funny one, isn't it? I think we're quite tough on ourselves sometimes.
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely. So when I was doing my course back in February, one of the girls, and we were talking about it, and this kind of little quote just kind of came up, and I thought, wow, how pertinent is this now? Don't just survive, thrive, because we're tending to see a lot of people really struggling and kind of almost sort of walking through treacle at the moment. They don't quite know what they're doing, and they're kind of just going each day as it comes, just surviving. And it's allowing those people to think, actually, there is a slightly different way, and actually get out of this situation better than before. And I think that was what was in my mind when I kind of wanted to create something like this, when I wrote this. So we're going to move into now this mental toughness and a mental toughness individual, and what is it that they actually will do? How do they behave? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring a poll in. Now, I've had problems with polls, so fingers crossed this works, because I think I've sussed it out. And you can answer as many of these as you like, so it's a multiple choice. So a mentally tough individual will think they cannot do something, keep their emotions in check, easily distracted, doubt their abilities, influence others, or learn, oh, that's a spelling mistake, from their mistakes.
Now, I've got nothing through at the moment, Sam.
Have you got anything through, Chris?
I've got the poll, yeah.
No, I've not.
Right, so it'll be something to do with your setup somewhere in your computer, because it's on my second screen and Chris has got it. So I wonder what that is then. I wonder if maybe you need to update Zoom or something in yours.
Don't know. Strange. I can't see anything on settings that would...
No, there probably won't be, because it should come up on your particular...
Yeah.
Have you selected anything, Chris?
Just submitted.
You've just submitted. Ah, right, okay, yeah, I can see it. Can you see it at all, Dave? Nothing on your screen?
No, nothing at all.
Okay.
How bizarre.
It is, that's really weird.
It should
That's really
do.
weird. Yeah, it should. Because it's definitely on my second screen as well, which is my benchmark of can the learners see it.
Yeah.
So I'll share it with you anyway, and then we can kind of talk it through. So I'm just going to share those results, what Chris selected, and then you can, I don't know, can you see it at all now I'm sharing it?
No. What if I press that? Oh, no, it's not right.
What if you, I don't think you can see polls on your thingy. What if you click polls at the bottom of your screen, Dave?
I haven't even got polls at the bottom of the screen.
Have you not? Right, okay.
I've got invite participants, share screen, chat and record.
Interesting. Right, okay. So it's like it isn't even accessible on your screen.
No.
So I'll talk through what Chris has put then. A mentally tough individual will keep their emotions in check, doubt their abilities. Oh, no, that's an interesting one. We'll come back to that one in a second. Influence others and learn from their mistakes, Chris has put. The other two was get easily distracted or think they cannot do something. So I'm going to stop sharing those results. That poll should have disappeared. There's another poll in a bit, Dave, so we'll see.
Okay. Okay.
If it works again for you, but it's probably unlikely, to be honest. I'll just talk you through it.
Okay.
So let me now go to the next slide, because my computer all of a sudden, I double click things and it's going forwards. There's all sorts going wrong with this systems at the minute. So mentally tough individual. Now, quite interesting what Chris put. Believe that they can do it. I think that was kind of one of the things that you put. Keep their emotions in check. Make promises and keep them. Driven to succeed. Stay motivated. Believe in their ability. So which was the one that you put, Chris, that kind of bumps into, shall we say, these particular points on the slide?
Can you show the poll again?
Can I bring it back up? Yeah, can. There you go. Doubt their abilities, it was.
Yeah. Sometimes you just get setbacks and you begin to doubt yourself.
Absolutely.
It's self-doubt, which is something I'm working on with my coach at the moment. So we're going into that area.
Yeah.
And you know you're good at something, but you get a very simple knockback, and it can be, somebody this week, or you'd have a follow-up call and we're hoping to close them, they cancel the follow-up call. So you think, well, that's a knockback you weren't expecting.
Of course it is.
That can knock your confidence a little bit, particularly at the moment when things are a little bit strange and you've got other things to contend with.
Yeah.
So normally I would say I'm pretty positive and pretty resilient. But sometimes a simple knock can make you question yourself.
Of course it can. And I think that's normal, if I'm honest. But I think what the difference between somebody that was mentally tough to somebody that was more mentally sensitive, this is where it starts to shift quite dramatically. Because if somebody was quite mentally tough, something's happened, it's knocked their confidence, what are they more likely to do if they're mentally tough?
Oh, beat themselves, brush themselves down and carry on.
Absolutely, of course they will. And that's what actually makes the difference. Because somebody more mentally sensitive would probably just give up and throw in the towel. And that's what we're going to come to in just a little while. Yeah. So that's what the report will start to show you once you get your reports. So it may highlight one of the areas, and we're going to talk through them in a little while. It may highlight one of the areas called confidence. So we'll talk through that in a little while, because we're going to come to it in just a second. But it's how you manage stress and stressors, and what it is. What is your response to it? It's probably not a bad way of explaining it.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's a lovely saying, I can't remember who the original guy was, but he says, life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it.
It's very true.
I can't think of the guy who said it now. It'll come to me at some stage, but I think it's so true.
Google it.
It
is very, very true. And we've always had stress in our lives, right? The way, go back thousands and thousands of years, it's never changed. The stress has changed, but there's always been stress. I think, I can't remember what advert it's for, and it's like a cartoon where there's a girl being chased by a mammoth. And that says, we've always had stress, but it's how you deal with it. And it's very true. Because she kind of like pole vaults over the mammoth and what have you, and kind of runs away. So it's how you respond.
Yeah, and I think days gone by, we could get rid of the stress by either running or fighting or whatever it was. But this day and age, we don't. We internalise the stress, and I think that's half the problem. We cannot find a way of getting rid of it.
Yeah. And then it becomes something that was quite small, becomes massive because we inflate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's that negative bias that we spoke about earlier that we'll have a look in a bit.
Yeah.
As to why we do it. So if we could develop mental toughness, then what do you think it would improve or promote? Don't do it in chat, or you can if you want, or just say what do you think it would improve and promote if we actually developed our own mental toughness?
Open-minded thinking.
Ooh, okay. Why do you think it would develop that?
Because I think we do things habitually, and we run at such a speed that we do it the same way we've done it, where if we improved our mental toughness, we could have the courage to step off the hamster wheel
Yeah.
assess where we are and where we want to be going, to be open-minded to something else.
Yeah.
And I think if you've got a tough mental mind, I think that's what it would certainly improve and enable you to do.
Completely agree with you. And we're back down to thinking about, say if I was closed-minded about something, for instance, why am I so closed-minded? What evidence am I basing that on? Where is it coming from? And it's all of those almost self-coaching type questions. It's the why, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree with you. Anything from you, Chris?
Yeah, excuse me. Obviously, there's been a lot about mental health in the press in the last year or so. And for me, one of the images that stood out was, I think it was the 100-year anniversary of the First World War. There was a picture, I had been doing the rounds on the internet, I don't know if you saw it on Facebook or LinkedIn or something, and it was an 18-year-old in 1918 or whatever it was, and there's a picture of a soldier going to war, and then a picture of an 18-year-old in 2019. So huddle up, so don't hurt my feelings. And in some ways, I thought which was quite sad, because I know we've got all this mental health and all the rest of it, but I think there's a lot more of it now, which is, and I get a sense it's a bit false.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of excuses, and there's lack of wanting to participate in society. And we've seen this particularly when Trump got elected. Oh, he's not my president. And we had a fair bit of this with, oh, Boris, he's not my president. But, you know, we are in a society where we rely on each other, and some people are more naturally strong than others. And I would consider myself to be fairly resilient in the majority of cases I have to deal with, and I have to deal with a few in my life. Yeah, I think for me, it's, I don't know, probably sounds a bit sort of late 50s manish, but not being such a wimp.
Yeah, to some degree. I think it's great that we're a bit more in touch with our emotions and to be open with them. However, I do think people hide behind them massively.
And hide behind the wrong ones. You know,
Yeah.
Pity me, as opposed to I feel exposed, can you help me?
Absolutely.
And I think there's a big difference between the mentality of those. And when I'm working with some of my mentees, I can be quite prodding. But you open up things, and then you've got to take responsibility for what you open up and guide through. Whereas a lot of it seems to be attacking.
Yeah.
Find this with maybe some coaches who are, they think they're coaches, shall we say. They just seem to be able to want to go through the motions, but they haven't got the connection. And I think authenticity is a huge core value, which I think is under recognised.
Yeah.
And you know, we just you're talking earlier, David, about the being laid off, the way companies behave, and all the rest of it. So integrity and being true to yourself, and doing the right thing because it's the right thing, not because it's the profitable thing.
Yeah.
I had this customer cancelled exactly halfway through his contract with no get-out clause, and I could have said, you know, you signed the contract, I expect the money, and if you don't pay, I'll take you to court. Which to me would be completely incongruent, because the reason that he cancelled was as a result of some of the things that we've been working on, been coaching in his personal life as well as business life.
Right.
He'd made a significant shift, and when he phoned me up to say, look, I'm cancelling, and here's why, or send me the email, I thought, yeah, you know what, I can take it one of two ways. Yeah, you know, it's a good chunk of income gone, but the money doesn't matter because it was the right thing to have done.
Yeah.
So he wanted to suspend for 3 months. I've got every expectation of not seeing him again.
Yeah, very probably.
Just because of the way his life's going, the challenges that he's got. But I thought, actually, apart from 3 months worth of money, what did I get out of it? And it was some really good experience at I would say, the sharp end of coaching, mentoring.
Yeah.
Going through some, he challenged me on a few things. He was a bit older than me, slightly autistic, found out about it a few years ago, and had various problems that he recognised as a result of that. And he's done a lot of the mental toughness and self-evaluation stuff. But it was just good to be able to understand some of what he was going through and to react in the right way.
Absolutely. Dave, was you going to say something?
Yeah, I think the word you said there is the responsibility. I think very often we live in a blame society, and people will look to blame everybody, anything, circumstances, but very often they're always at the scene of the crime themselves. So I think it is that. I love the word you said there as well, because the integrity, because if you have your values and you accept those and stand by those, then that's the way to go. But I don't think enough people do accept responsibility, and I think you're right. Again, they hide behind so much, that's where, anyway, that's where I believe the mental toughness comes.
I think there's another element to that as well, Dave, and that is if you understand what your core values are and why.
Yeah.
That helps you understand why you react to something. Now, one for me is total integrity, and if someone's lying to me and pretending that they're not, but obviously are, and I can think of one or two particular examples in my previous lives, then for me, that's pretty much the end of the relationship, because it goes against one of
your core values.
Core values. I think there are some things that we can accept and maybe forgive in a short term, or compromise a little bit. And there are others which are absolutely sacrosanct.
I think a more mentally tough individual is probably more likely, though, to kind of see things very objectively rather than get drawn in emotionally. And I think that can really help make those decisions, whether it be the relationship needs to end, whether it be that professional or whatever it is. Whereas I think if you're more mentally sensitive, you have a far greater emotional attachment and you find it more difficult to step away, even from types of things. And when we really start to drill down into this, what the psychometrics kind of show us and suggest, it's really quite fascinating. You get a real insight into yourself.
I think a lot of people don't get that, which is why they react, because often the media tells them how they should react. And
absolutely,
we go down to soap operas, and I won't name any in particular because I never watch them, but the sorts of things that go on in these Brazilian soap opera type things, it's sensation to sensation to sensation, but life isn't like that. So if my life hasn't got sensation, I'm missing something, therefore I have to create it.
Absolutely.
And it's very superficial and very shallow. So I think the way that you react to it and taking responsibility for your reactions has got a good way. It's a good way of looking at it, but also thinking in terms of what I said about people lying to me about very key things. I think looking at it objectively, not blowing up and going, "Oh, don't trust you anymore," but just logging at the back of my mind, okay, that's not in line with what we thought we were. The relationship's not going to end up the way it's going to go. So I've now got to reevaluate the basis of that relationship. And there are three reasons why a relationship exists. It's for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And when you can reevaluate things on an objective basis, those short-term relationships may be a reason. There's a reason why we're in the room together now, for example. A season, people come into your lives, maybe work somewhere for a while, or you're with somebody for a while and then that ends, or it's a lifetime. And, the stronger the relationships, I would say it's probably a factor of 10, 1, 10 and 100 in terms of the level of commitment and trust that you put into those. But if you can evaluate it objectively, and I think have a model to evaluate it against, some kind of framework, even if it's just the three things I've just said, so season or a lifetime. And with this particular person, I thought actually it's coming to an end and it's served its purpose. Because people move on.
Of course they do, absolutely, I completely agree. So thanks for all of that. I mean, really, really interesting there, sort of hearing things from your perspective. But like I said, when we start to drill down into sort of the psychometrics and the psychology that sits behind the report, all of this, it highlights, and it's quite interesting the way it does. But if we're going to have a look, if you like, at the house answers of what mental toughness can actually promote or improve, I suppose. You start to think about organisations now. The way the mental toughness breakdown is split, and I'll show you the scorings in just a little while, but there's about 16% of the population which would be classed as high on mental toughness. Now, if you've got some of that 16% within your organisation that are classed as mentally tough, it can actually account for 25% of variation in performance from somebody that's mentally sensitive, which is incredible. Again, start to think of those behaviours that would develop within the business. So you get your role model people, etc. Because they tend to be more positive. They tend to have a better outlook. And exactly like we were just saying there, they don't necessarily look at all of the negatives, and they look at things that they've maybe learned from in the past, etc. And they then very probably would be mentors for other individuals within teams. Hence then you're kind of spreading and developing mental toughness within an organisation without even realising what it is that you're doing. And this isn't clicking forwards again, so it'll probably go twice now. Yes, and it has done, so let me go back one. Those aspirations and achieving those hopes and dreams. So you were talking earlier, Chris, about visualisation. Well, is that not this? How we want our future to be, how we aspire to be. And that's not just about our well-being, that's what we want from life, that goal orientation as well.
Yeah, and this is an area I'm working on with my coaches, going back over some things I knew but wasn't applying.
Absolutely.
There's probably very little that's new that's come out of the material we've been working on, but it's just nice to have somebody who understands it and can push some of the different buttons.
Of course it is, absolutely.
Just out of interest, Chris, when you're not with your coach, so when you let's go back a step. So when you're with your coach, she pushes buttons and you get to a point, I need to do this, need to do that. But in between sessions, what happens?
Sometimes we're going through a set program at the moment, which should be every week for 6 months. But I've extended the time between because I now want to work on some of the material that she's given me. So I think it's part of my routine has changed. Every morning I go and do some fairly gentle exercises, and then after that I normally listen to some of the material that she's given me. I've started listening to some of the tapes I used to have. I would say when I was a kid, when I was in my early 20s, I used to buy motivational tapes from Nightingale Conant. I've transferred a couple of those to MP3 so I can play them on the phone. Because surprise, surprise, I can't find a tape player anymore. But I think it's going back to some of this material. There are several things that I've learned from her, or kind of reorientated me a bit, and I think it's quite interesting. I think she's probably 10, 12 years younger than me. So that in itself is quite interesting. So different, she specialises in has been useful to pick me up on a few things. But one of her key concepts is less is more. Now, I've been very good at doing more and not getting many results. I've been too distracted because I distract myself because I think I should be doing more. Therefore, I have to occupy every hour of every day with doing something. So taking time out to do things. And now 8 till 10 this morning was me time. I didn't start until 10 o'clock, but it was just after 10 today. And that's becoming more of a habit. So the less is more, and then the thing that I'm really struggling with is I've always had a to-do list with 1,000,001 things on the to-do list and never get around to doing them and beating myself up because I've only done 500,000. Whereas one of her philosophies, and one of the things she's been trying to teach me, is don't have a to-do list, but you've got to do things, but schedule them and have time to do them. So it's a significant shift in thinking for me because it's so opposite to what I used to do, and I'm having a bit of trouble getting myself organised and doing it and following it. I'm very good at making the plans, but not very good at following them.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wondered, you might want to check out the goal mapping. When you go online and go and do it for free, and it might. It's a visual tool, Chris, where you create your own map yourself. And Brian takes you through it. So it's Goal Mapping by Brian Mayne, Mayne. And please go on, have a look. It might not be that what sometimes happens is that we're full of great stuff. You know, Sam and I could be chatting and I'm going, yeah, that sounds great. And in between me seeing Sam next time, I've lost that will, that drive, because stuff comes into view. And I'm just thinking, if keep you focused, it might be something, if you like visualization, because that's what it's all revolving around. Have a look anyway.
Yeah, so there's goal mapping, Brian, M-A-I-N-E.
M-A-Y, yellow, M-A-Y-N-E, Brian Main, goal mapping. Lives in the Isle of Wight.
Wow, okay.
Okay, so are you, you mentioned goal before goal coach, goal mapping coach. Is that
Yeah.
Right. I'd be interested to have a chat with you afterwards about
anytime.
I'm sure some of you can share our details.
Oh yeah, of course I can. If you can pop them into chat. You can exchange email addresses in chat. Super easy. So of course you can.
Yeah. No, fab.
So some great stuff on there. That was a great question there, Dave, as well. What happens in between those coaching interventions, because that, again, it's all self-awareness, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Once you start to recognise what it is that you're doing, you do something about it. Because
you do a lot of coaching, Sam. So how do you keep your people motivated in between sessions?
I think it's setting boundaries and it's setting specific. And I know that you set specific goals anyway.
Yeah.
I think when they know that they're accountable, because they have to then come back and say, right, I've done this or I haven't done that, and they feel, not that I would ever say, right, trouble or anything now. It doesn't work like that, but it's like having that accountability buddy, isn't it? Because you don't like letting people down.
Yeah.
And I find that works really well.
Okay.
Personally, anyway, I tend to find that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Okay, let's move into the 4 C's then, because this is what, if you like, this mental toughness piece is all about, and this is the reports that you guys are going to receive, of course, from AQR. So we're going to do another poll now, Dave, but you're not going to be able to see it.
No, I can't believe I can't. It's a gift with technology that I have, I've got to say. I don't know what's happening.
It's weird, isn't it? Right, let me, we don't want that one. Let's end that one. Relaunch polling. I want, not that one. I want that one. There it is. There we go. The 4 C's. So what I've put in here, what are the 4 C's? Because they are split down, obviously, into 4 categories that begin with C. We've got control, commitment, competence, and current. We've got control, conscientiousness, challenge, or confidence. The third one is control, commitment, challenge, and confidence. Or the 4th one would be no control, uncommitted, not challenging, and no confidence.
Right. It won't be the 4th.
Which one do you reckon, Chris? Have you submitted? Yes, I can see Chris has. Absolutely. I'm going to end polling and I'm going to share the results. Yeah, perfect. Chris, chocolate mouse to Chris. You got it absolutely right. Let me take those results away. Bit of a pity there, Dave, that you can't join in.
I know.
Absolutely. Oh, that was the question. So these are the 4 C's that I've just popped onto the screen now. And this is, of course, from AQR International. They're based in Chester, actually, not too far away from you, Dave, if you're over in
right.
They're in Chester.
Okay.
Been going 30 odd years. So the research and the quantability, I almost want to say, that sits behind all of this now is 30 odd years. They have an academic called Peter Clough that does a lot of the workings, and he's like the kind of resident psychologist that sort of sits behind all of this. So it's fascinating. So have either of you come across this before?
Not this one, no. I've done loads, but not this one.
Not this one. Right, okay. This is the report that you guys are going to receive, and I'm going to talk through them in just a second.
Okay.
So they're kind of broken down into segments, but each of those segments, as you can see, is broken down into 2. So the first 4C, if you like, is control. Now you start to think about what we were talking about before, because this is broken down into 2 areas. We have life control and we have emotional control. So the life control, and there's a couple of taglines, if you like, also on the slide. They really believe that they can do it if they believe that they can make a difference, they're very organised, they plan well, they work hard, if they get set back, everything's possible. If you ask me to do it, guess what? I'm going to say yes. Famous Richard Branson quote, and I'm going to go and find out how to do it. They're in control of their own life. If I don't understand it, I'm going to learn, and I'm going to find out for myself. Very much in control of their own destiny. Stuff happens, stuff goes wrong, but that links into one of the other 4 C's that we'll see in just a second. And of course, you're going to need a bit of resilience for that. Emotional control. Well, a little bit like what we were talking about before, to be honest. I can control my emotions. I know if I'm getting angry, but also I recognise the emotions of others as well. And I can then influence them. So I can manage my own. I can influence the emotional response maybe of others by talking to them, calming down, all of those types of techniques that we've learned down the years through either our training or wherever it is that we've learned them from. Quite difficult to provoke or annoy because they're in check. They understand actually what their triggers are as well. Tend to deal with difficult people and bullies quite well. They don't get drawn in because there's no emotional attachment necessarily. However, what they can do is mask anxiety. So right now, somebody that's mentally tough, they might really have it going on. Only human at the end of the day, but they'll mask it. And that can be a real downside to being mentally tough. Because you think you've got to always have that kind of hard shell, if you like, and that mask goes on. And you're kind of a little bit reluctant, shall we say, to remove it. Because, of course, they want to maintain poise, for instance. So it's incredibly important to them. Probably absolutely stiff upper lip, yeah, but that can be quite detrimental if they're not very careful. And that's where it comes down to what we were saying before. Why am I feeling and thinking the way I am? What's going on for me? And it's the why, isn't it? All of that why, starting to think about what's going on for me. So that's control. The next 4C is commitment. And commitment, again, broken into 2 areas. That achievement orientated, where actually, I'm going to take, I'm going to do whatever it takes to kind of get it done. But that in itself, if you're quite mentally tough, you could almost become very dogmatic. So that's what you've kind of got to really watch with this one. They'll work incredibly hard. They'll set those goals. They'll keep the promises to themselves and others. So if they've set, a little bit like we were saying before, that accountability buddy, because yours was a great question, what are you doing in between? And this is where it starts to come into a little bit here. Very conscientious. They will self-sacrifice to get there. And that in turn could create resentment. So that's a whole different story. But being mentally tough is one thing, but being that dogmatic end is another. And that goal orientation as well. So again, they'll be very, very focused. They'll set specific targets. If they recognise that maybe they're not going to reach that target, they'll break it down further. They won't beat themselves up too much, etc. Targets motivates them. So you think about the training, Dave, that we do. At Pareto, for instance, and sometimes you'll hear people saying, oh God, targets, I'm dreading them. They could be a little bit more mentally sensitive. Or maybe developing their mental toughness will actually help them recognise that targets can be a really good thing, because sometimes targets really frighten people. Yeah, they can, and it depends how involved they are in the targets and who's setting them and how they're set as well. Absolutely. And again, if you're quite mentally tough, you'll visualise success. A little bit like what the athletes do, and a little bit like what Chris was saying before. Massive. It's massive. That's a big one. That's commitment. That's one of the. That's the second 4C. Should move on forwards now. The next one is challenge, and now you'll probably notice on the slide that actually resilience is now coupled, shall we say, with positivity. We're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. So this challenge is broken into 2 areas, that risk orientation and that learning orientation. Again, somebody that's quite mentally tough, they'll stretch themselves, they'll feel the fear but do it anyway, shall we say. I always think it's a great saying. They love trying new things and not really afraid of change. Sometimes, though, they'll create change for change's sake. Everybody else is falling apart, but they love it, which can again be quite a downside. And they'll really they'll sort of readily volunteer themselves for sort of other activities, etc. They want to do it, but of course the downside of that is they could take too many risks.
Yeah.
And in just a moment, that learning orientation, if they don't learn from their mistakes, that can be very detrimental. So we're kind of back down to that sort of dogmatic element again. So the learning orientation, stuff happens, we know that. It's always going to happen. I think we could probably sit in a room, well, we are now anyway, and stuff happens anyway to us in our lives because that's just life. But the learning orientation, if you're more mentally tough, you'll start to recognise, actually, what did I do wrong? What didn't go quite so well? What have I learnt from that experience? And you'll really sit down and think about, okay, I'm not going to do that part again, but that part actually worked quite well. So there's no reason why not to try it again. But of course, if you're more mentally sensitive, throw in the towel and you just give up. Then our final 4C is, if it just clicks forward for me, come on. There we go. It's confidence. And this is broken up again into two areas, that confidence in abilities, think back to what we were talking about just before, and that interpersonal confidence. So that confidence in abilities, again, they believe they can do it. Nothing is going to stand in the way. If I don't know how to do it, I'm going to learn. I'll find out how to do it. They recognise actually that they're, pretty adaptable, shall we say. But the interpersonal confidence is kind of influencing others, shall we say. It's not just about them. This is how they bring others on board. So great leaders, I think, have got great interpersonal confidence. Not talking about bullyish leaders here. We're talking about great leaders. They'll understand things from other people's perspectives, etc. They'll argue their corner. They'll sort of recognise things from the other side. They'll ask a lot of questions. They want to understand things. They won't kind of orally, shall we say, dominate others, like in meetings, etc. So that interpersonal confidence is all about how they interact with others, which again is quite an interesting one, because I think you get quite a lot of people that say, oh, you can't influence others. Well, actually, yes, you can. You can't change them, but you can most certainly influence them.
Yeah.
So when you guys receive your reports, each of those areas, I know this looks a little bit crazy, and when you get your reports, you'll have time to actually sit down and read it. You'll have an overall mental toughness score, which is at the top. So the 16% of mentally tough individuals that I said before would sit in an 8, 9 and 10 realm. Mentally sensitive would sit in the 1, 2 and 3. 16% of the population sits in that realm as well. So the rest of it is that 68%, is it? Just average mental toughness. So the higher up the scale you tend to be, the more mentally tough you are. And each of those areas actually get broken down. So things like control, it will give you an overall score, and then it will break it down into emotional control. Maybe they struggle with anxiety, for instance, but actually they've got stuff together, and that's why their life control is actually quite high. So you'll receive a report, a development report, that is specifically and bespoke to you.
Wow,
from
thank you.
The way that you answer your, I think there's 74 questions in the MTQ Plus report, which you guys will receive.
Right.
Have a read of it. Think about it and then read it again is probably what I would say. And you'll start to really notice some of the correlations in regards to what's going on for you right now. It's quite interesting.
Okay.
And what I'd like you to do once you've done it is just share with me just a couple of points that it's kind of really highlighted to you. If you wish to do that, that would be lovely to kind of give you what it is that you have got specifically from your report. Yeah,
absolutely, I will, definitely. Do we need to do that on a one-to-one basis, Sam? Just literally give you a call?
Give us a call. You can send me an email, however it is that you want to do it. Absolutely, of course you can.
Okay, it'd be an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
That would be brilliant. It's quite interesting. I did mine a couple of years ago, and I was really in fight mode. So I came out quite high, which isn't always a great thing on virtually all of them. And there was just a couple of them that was relatively low. I want to do another. I think I've changed massively over this last 3 years. So yeah, it's quite interesting just what it highlights.
I think a lot of the psychometric testing isn't used enough with people because they don't understand themselves. If they don't understand themselves, they don't know how they influence people, either positively or negatively. And I think this type of thing, it should be used an awful lot more. I'm a big advocate of them, and I think they're great. So I welcome the opportunity of this. Thank you.
There's some talk actually of trying to get this type of stuff into schools.
Oh, I wish
and they're working really hard to do that right now. A lot of organisations are taking up this principle at the moment, and the business AQR. I mean, they've been going a long time, but it has rocketed over the last couple of years, and certainly now with this.
It's massive. I mean, if you think it all started with just after the Second World War, when the army realised, why are we losing good people? And they realised that they weren't looking at people; they were just bullying and shouting at people. And they came out with the test that they still use now, but a lot has come off the back of that. And it's massive in the military. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, brilliant stuff. Have you guys got any questions specifically just around the 4 C's, just before we move into the sort of mental sensitivity we're just going to have a look at?
Now, just one thing, Sam, on the emotional control, when you coach this, do you link in, because I know you're an avid reader of the chimp paradox into that, where emotionally you're not engaging your logical brain enough? Do you pull that into this?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can do. The chimp paradox is all again about thinking, what is my trigger? I know you've named your chimp, Dave, for instance.
Yeah, Charlie.
Charlie, absolutely. Yes, he certainly is. Charlie the chimp. So it's recognising those triggers, isn't it? What is it that's setting you off? But it's, why is it setting you off? Why is it creating that response in you? And the more mentally tough you are, the more actually you're going to be able to control that. You're going to recognise that trigger and do something about it. So absolutely, of course it does. Also, I think what comes into it is the parent, adult, child, the ego states, that comes into this massively. The drama triangle, a little bit like you were saying before, that emotional control. Some people, like you were saying on the soaps, they almost crave that kind of dramatization of everything and that catastrophizing of everything. And they don't feel happy unless they've got all that going on in their lives, or the kind of, I don't know, creating some conspiracy theory about something or other. And that would show itself very probably in the emotional control as well.
Okay.
So it's interesting.
Cool.
Good question. Any questions, Chris?
No, just I've got to go and read the Chimp Paradox, I think.
Great book.
It's brilliant, Chris.
Book. Very good book.
You can get it on audio as well, so I've got it on my phone. So on the way into work, when I normally travel in, I'll always listen 20 minutes every morning. And I've gone through that several times, and each time I learn something new. So I know Sam loves it. I can highly recommend it. It's a great book. Yeah,
it is. It's a good book. Very good book. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to move into the mentally sensitive. I thought I'd put mental sensitivity then, but I hadn't. As I read it, I realised I hadn't put that. It kind of makes myself laugh then. This is the opposite to mental toughness, not mental weakness. And I think now we're really beginning to see the definitive differences within our own families, within our own friends, within organisations, within ourselves, if I'm being honest, as well. And just how this kind of sits and works with us. Right, I have clicked it forwards again. It's not moved. 1 minute. There we go. We don't want that one. So I was going to do a whiteboard, but obviously Dave can't really do a whiteboard.
Sorry, guys.
Fill your boots. You can fill this in. So we've got, what are the strengths and challenges of the mentally sensitive, which was actually the slide before, but this is the main slide that we're going to answer anyway. Again, if you want to pop it in chat, Dave, go for it, or you can just talk us through it. What do you think the strengths would be of a mentally sensitive individual?
I think they got high levels of empathy.
Massively.
they're aware of their own, the way they are themselves. So they will have a full idea about where their strengths are and how they can do that.
Yeah.
What else would I say in the mentally sensitive? I think they were, I was going to say they could think logically, but I'm not so sure if that's quite right, actually.
They would probably still think logically to some degree.
But I think then perhaps they might be swayed too easily. I don't know. So on the sort of challenge side, they may be swayed because they don't want to upset the status quo to a degree. So that might come into as a bit of a challenge, I think.
Absolutely. So you know the 4 colours, Dave.
More
amiable here.
Yeah.
Definitely more amiable style, shall we say?
Absolutely. And I think they have huge levels of strengths, but equally there's areas where they can be taken advantage of. They may shy away from difficult conversations, but on the other hand, they can be fabulous at desensitizing real challenges. So they'll just say, right, let's just sit down quietly, let's just talk it through. I think from a mentoring position, they could be very, very powerful and very strong on that as well. They probably have a lot of life skills.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Great empathy, though. They really have. And they're really feeling it, these guys, at the minute.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, very much so.
What about you, Chris? I don't think you've typed anything.
No, I just thought I'd do it verbally. I think perhaps being a lot more reflective.
Oh, yeah, massively.
Yeah.
And as you were saying, just generally more empathy and probably a lot of inner strength and control by being a very good active listener.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because they'll be really interested in the people, very people orientated. So now these family members can, almost be the sounding board. However, you start to look at what the challenge that might create, because that may actually create more anxiety within them because they're taking everything on board because they're supporting everybody.
Absolutely.
So
very much so. It's
kind of getting that balance, isn't it? So let's just kind of have a look at this. And again, you're probably thinking of people. I know I certainly am. When you're looking at these more mentally sensitive types, the strengths definitely great at sensing the mood and atmosphere of people around them. They're brilliant at it. They're very intuitive. But like we've just been saying, they're very, very sensitive to overload before most people as well. So if you do set targets and goals, etc., they may feel, well, that's too much. Just one thing to start me off and let me sort of start a little bit more slowly. Can be very creative, though, incredibly creative. And of course, they bring that very much caring approach to whether it be teams, families, or wherever it is. But the challenges, and I think this is one of the very, very big things that's going on for them at the moment. And this is, again, something that the more I kind of talk to people, I'm just going to take my jacket off, too warm now. They just do not feel in control at all. Because at the minute they're not. They're really not. And they're really, really feeling it. So things like, if they're still working and they've still got targets to meet, etc. I had somebody message me a couple of weeks ago and sort of say, my boss still is expecting me to get, I don't know, however many sales, for instance. And I'm thinking, how on earth are you going to close sales now the way you did before and expect the same targets now? So we talked it through. That's just crazy.
And I think you've got a real point there. That comes down to the leadership and the leaders' ability to flex their style in these challenging times. And I think some people only know one way, and it's a huge big stick that comes bashing on someone's head. And this is when people will remember when we go back, and things will go back and it won't be the same. What will people do? And will there be a huge move? And I think, Chris, if you're working for small business, I think a lot of people may have that thought process, I'm going to go on my own. And I think you could do very well on that myself.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
I was talking to somebody a couple of weeks ago about this and how badly they've been treated by their bosses. And I'll often just play with the whiteboard and start filling it out. And just a quote that came to mind was, people's true character is revealed in the time of crisis.
Oh, couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, 100%.
Not agree with you more.
100%.
And I think
completely
going
agree.
back to the character being tied to your core values, and just the example I gave earlier with my mentee who said I cancelled, I could have shouted and said, no, you've got to pay, or I could have done the right thing.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee what he's going to remember more.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. And he'll recommend you, and when he wants, he'll come back. And I think, yeah, but that takes strength of character though, Chris, because, you know, sometimes if you're in a financially difficult challenge in place, then that's when if you can stick to those values, that's a sheer sign of strength of character. And I think that's just brilliant.
Yeah, completely agree with you. That's a really good point, actually. These guys loved routine. So now they're absolutely in free fall panic because they're all over the show. And of course, they often lack confidence. So you think about the 4 C's that we said before, that confidence in their abilities, for instance.
Yeah.
These guys can really struggle with that.
Yeah.
So again, it's just giving you a little bit of a heads up to the more mentally sensitive amongst us, shall we say. But also, it just makes us think a little bit on how we can support these individuals now. So the more mentally tough individuals may need to sort of step up and kind of a little bit of a virtual arm around the shoulder. Well, we're not allowed to give anybody a hug anymore, are we? Which that's me.
No.
But yeah, definitely, I know what you mean. Okay, so let's move into then, just got a last couple of bits to kind of look at, but mental toughness development. Again, if there was more of us, how can we develop our mental toughness? What do you think we can actually do?
Well, confidence seems to be a theme that's coming up a fair bit. So
Yeah,
things that can help you build your confidence, and confidence comes by doing things and completing tasks and putting things into action.
yep,
Which means you've probably got to believe that you can do it. And if you go back to the beginning of that, it starts with the thought service, thinking right. So
Absolutely.
thought, belief, action, results.
yep. Absolutely. So we're back down to that sort of confidence in their abilities, for instance. Maybe that a little bit of learning orientation. Actually, I've tried it, but it didn't quite work out. And all of that, and just being just a little bit more positive. Absolutely. Anything from you, Dave?
Yeah, no, I think the positivity is there, definitely. I think it's looking, as you know, Sam, I do the wins, learns, changes, something I do with all my people, which is focus on what's gone well first, whatever that may be. There will always be something that's positive. We naturally look for the negative, and that's what I was saying before. So what's gone well? What have I learned from the experience, which you said in one of your earlier slides? And then what do I need to change next time?
Yeah.
And I think if we did that, and the other big thing, which again is in the chimp paradox, is to have some laughter amongst it.
Oh,
I think
massively.
we take ourselves, and I think we take the situation too seriously. And if we can deal with that, because if you fast forward 5 years and ask yourself, was that 5 years ago a real problem? Majority of the time, it wasn't earth-shattering.
No.
It was just more inconvenience. So I think, and a lot of the stuff you've gone through here is valid as well, definitely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to put something on the slide here. You'll probably see it just talking about you having a negative bias. And I don't know if you've seen this before.
I can't remember the damn thing yet.
So it's when you're delivering feedback. Just let me see. Can you see?
Yeah.
Can you see that sum there at the bottom?
Yeah, I have seen you do this, so I remember it now.
You remember? This is hashtag 149.
Yeah.
And when you ask a group of people to give you feedback, what's the thing that they will focus on there?
Mm-hmm.
I know the answer. Go on, Chris.
Yes, Nick, I was listening to a tape this morning on this actually, and the guy was saying we're taught at school that we got to do the test and to get them right, but we focus on the wrong. You get home in the evening and Mum says, "How did you do? I got 3 wrong, not 17 right."
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, we're programmed to have that negative bias. You know, things years ago that were negative used to kill us. Well, now it doesn't.
Absolutely.
If anything, it's the negativity that's killing us with the cortisol that flushes through us when we're negative. And it's quite strange, isn't it, kind of how it's twisted?
Yeah, it really is. It's not life threatening now. It's mindless thinking instead of mindful thinking.
Like that. Like that's the quote of the day so far, that, Dave. Yeah, it certainly is.
Does this come from sort of originally, sort of thinking back to caveman times? It's a survival mechanism.
Yeah, it is. Of course, it is. Yeah,
100%. Yeah,
part of the reptilian brain.
yeah, it certainly is.
Yep. Yep.
So it's hashtag 149, and I know you might know it, Dave, but that's for Chris. And it's that reptilian brain and how we do focus on the negative. But also, if we develop our mental toughness and we are one of these individuals that may well focus on the negative far more, the chances are we're probably more mentally sensitive rather than mentally tough. Because a mentally tough individual wouldn't necessarily do that.
Yeah.
So when we start to think about, and we're going to move into just a couple of these in just a second, the stuff that you're going to have a look at in your reports is evidence-based. It targets specifically out of those 8 areas, the development areas for you, and it gives you suggestions on how it is that you can develop that mental toughness. It's that positive thinking. I'm freezing again now. That visualization. This is a woman of a certain age. Drives me mad.
I know, I was going to say something then. Your tropical moment.
Tropical moment, yeah. Freezing, napalm, frozen. Nothing in between. Anxiety control, attentional control, increased productivity, self-awareness. This is massive. It's a big, big thing with this mental toughness stuff. It's about that self-awareness. Someone that's mentally tough will be honest with themselves as well. That ugly mirror that I talk about. They'll have a bit of a look in there and go, I'm being a bit of a dick, aren't I?
Yeah.
Why am I doing that? What am I doing that for? What am I even saying that for? It doesn't work for me. Self-management, that more coaching. So coach yourself, coach others around you. Also better at time management, because you tend to be a little bit more organised, and obviously that team effectiveness if you were doing that within an organisation as well. So that's what mental toughness development, if you like, can kind of create. But for me, one of the biggest things, and one of the questions that I probably get asked the most, and I have clicked forward but it's not moved. Right, there we go. What can we do when we start to think negatively? And I don't know if I spelt negatively right there, but nonetheless. What can we do when we start to think negatively?
Stop ourselves in our track, recognise that we're doing it.
So that takes self-awareness.
Yeah.
Okay.
The tip that was given to me is keep a happy folder. So when you get good feedbacks or anything that's positive, is put it into a folder. And if you're having a down day, open that folder up and read them.
Oh, I love it.
It just shows you, do you know what?
Yeah,
I can
like
do this. So I just keep it a happy folder.
I'm going to write that down. I like that. Happy folder. We like that. Yeah, we do. I watch daft movies.
Yeah.
Daft things like, Brian Connolly from years ago.
Oh.
It's a puppet. It's a knockout we had on the other night. Love it.
Oh, he is so funny.
He is.
He's,
so that's what I do.
Just as a quick aside, I met Brian before he was famous because I lived in Jersey for many years.
Wow.
And he drunk in the local pub that we were in while he was doing a tour over there. He is the funniest guy you could ever meet.
Yeah, I love his bits. I really do. I went to Blackpool to see him a couple of years ago.
Oh,
I was in absolute stitches. He just makes me laugh so much.
What's his name?
Brian Connolly. You'll know him.
He's a comedian, is he?
Yeah, he's a very, very good singer as well. Very talented.
Good singer. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you know he's dyslexic as well?
Really?
Yeah. And so he used to do a sketch. Now it couldn't be done now because they'd say it's non-PC, but he was just laughing at himself. And he did this song YMCA. All the movements you're supposed to do, but he got them all wrong. And he just laughed at himself. But he's singing. He's a brilliant singer.
Yeah, he is. He's
very
so
talented
funny.
lad.
Chris, get it on. Honest to God, get on YouTube. And there's one of his shows that's about an hour long, and it's just the most stupid British humour, but it's just hilarious. Honest to God, it's so funny.
Good.
But
good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, humour.
What about you, Chris? Go on.
I was just phone somebody who you know will listen, that doesn't judge you.
Yep, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a real good one. But what about you, Chris?
Apart from the self-awareness and try and catch myself in the act,
Yep.
not a lot I do at the moment.
Yeah.
I catch myself beating myself up and think, you know, I'm the only one that does this.
Mm.
Absolutely. That self-talk, actually, how we
Yeah.
speak about ourselves says a lot about our ability. You know, how we look, the confidence in our abilities, for instance.
Absolutely.
That's a knock into that. It really does.
Yeah,
And I think,
definitely.
I keep coming back to the self-awareness based on thinking about this in different words and different situations. Some people around you are going to be negative most of the time because that's the way they are.
Yeah.
And it can drag you down a little bit. It's being
Hugely.
aware of that so as you don't allow yourself to be dragged down too much.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
They're mood hoovers, those people. That's what we call them.
Suck the life out of you.
Oh,
You really
yeah.
do. Completely
And they
agree.
usually on social media as well.
Yes. Yeah, they're the ones slagging everything off, you know, slagging everybody and
absolutely.
everything off, but doing nothing about it themselves.
Absolutely.
Drive me mad.
Yeah,
positive. Look at that picture there, eh? I'd
that's
love to be there.
brilliant.
Right?
That is.
I'd love to be there
that.
right now with all them balloons.
That is fabulous.
Focus on what's going well. Get things in perspective. Sometimes don't we just blow stuff up?
Yep.
And we don't need to. Ask yourself why are you thinking what you're thinking. We said this before. Challenge those limiting beliefs. What are you basing it on? Really? Where's that come from? Self-aware, like we've just been saying. What am I actually in control of? We're going to do that in just a second. And what have I learned from previous experiences as well?
Yeah.
It's all about that self-coaching that we mentioned before. And I love this quote. Be the reason someone smiles today. Do you know?
That's a wicked picture, isn't it?
Absolutely.
What has she been doing?
Brilliant. Yeah, what? She's got a right devilment look on her face.
Oh, yeah. Wicked.
I concur with that woman there. So we're going to have a look just very quickly now at control and influence. I'm sure you two are very familiar with Stephen Covey.
Yeah.
Circle of influence and circle of control. Are you familiar with that, Chris?
Not that particular one, but 7 habits I'm aware of.
Okay. Yeah, 7, absolutely. The 7 habits. You'll probably have seen it in maybe a different form, Chris. So if you have a look in the centre here, they're the things, shall we say, that we're in control of. Whether it be ourselves, whether it be stuff around us, whatever it is that's going on. They're the things that we can physically control. There's certain points or certain parts, the things that we can just influence, but we can't fully control. Mm-hmm. The elements around the outside, hence why it's in red, they're the things that we're concerned about, but actually we can't control at all. Do you think about everything that's going on right now? What a lot of people are doing, that concern, they're allowing it to bleed into the things that they can influence, and it's squashing down all of those thoughts that actually I'm not in control here. So think about what we were saying just a minute ago about the mentally sensitive. This is how they're feeling. They're not thinking about things that they can physically themselves influence. All they're now concerned about is everything. Yeah. And that control gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
Whereas if you start to think about it in a slightly different way, okay, these are the things I can control, but what is it that I actually can influence as well? What difference can I make? Look at all the people online that are doing stuff online. Look at all the people that are doing things like these choirs and all the rest of it. You know, I can't get to choir practice. You know, I'm really upset. Well, look at what they've done to influence that situation.
Yeah.
Look at that old boy walking up and down his garden to raise all of that money.
Yeah.
These are people that are looking at things in regards to what it is that they can influence, rather than spending time being worried about the things that are concerning them. And that, for me, is what makes mental toughness fantastic.
Yeah.
That's there. You're seeing it in a completely black and white way. So what things can you influence right now that maybe you think that maybe you can't?
I can influence how I look at a situation.
Brilliant. Yeah, you can.
So I think how I can also help people influence people how they perceive something to be able to work together. And I think that's just like we're doing now. We're having this talk together, and maybe, and I know from my point of view, it's maybe think very differently of a couple of things. I'm thinking, yeah, I could influence that. Am I doing this or am I doing something else? I think, yeah, you can certainly influence others to be able to consider something different. I think that's one for me.
Absolutely. And I'm going to be interested to find out what it is that you've had those change of thoughts in just a few minutes, Dave.
Yeah.
What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I'm just actually thinking to one of my mentees, and we got a session every 2 weeks, and I knew that one of the pieces of work that I gave her to do, which was technical, she's not overly technical, but it needed to be done for the next piece. She wasn't particularly confident in it, so I just sent an email a couple of days later and said, look, do you want to have a follow-up session, even though it wasn't scheduled? Just putting that hand out to say, look, do you want a hand? And the response to that was welcome. And we had another really good session, which I enjoyed, or always do with her. So that motivated me a bit and sort of bucked me up a bit, but she was so grateful. And I thought she was going to go to a place of panic. So I've got you remember this coaching model I showed you, Sam? It's a graph with 2 lines, comfort, stretch, and panic.
Okay.
And coach's job is to push up the stretch, so as the stretch gets higher and becomes normal.
Yeah.
Within your comfort zone. So I sensed that she was going to go just out of the comfort zone, so out of the stretch zone into panic. But just to put that helping hand out and say, do you want to just talk about it?
Yeah.
And do it as in that scenario, it was just free added value.
Yeah.
But it was through genuine concern, as opposed to, I'm guessing where you're going to be because I've been there.
Yeah.
When you've done these pieces, it's probably going to go explode, and that's when you're going to need the hand. So be sensitive to the timing, I would guess.
Brilliant. I think that's a really, really good example. I really do. So not only are you influencing things yourself, you're actually helping and supporting her as well.
Well, which was the intention, yeah.
Absolutely. Brilliant. I love it. Okay, you're going to need your phones now.
Oh, okay.
Which you very rarely ever hear on a training session. However, we are going to need our phones. I have clicked the slide forward. Let's see how long it takes for it to move, shall we? It's not doing it. There we go. Right, okay. So you're going to need your phone in just a second, and I'll do it with you. What the question is, what strategies do you have to reduce anxiety and to stay positive? So what I'm going to do now is I am going to share. So let me make sure, where's it gone? Should be in there. Is it disappeared to? Probably show all windows. There we go. Where's it disappeared to? Hang on, let me stop sharing 1 sec. It's disappeared. Stop sharing. Oops. Stop sharing. 1 second. Because it is in there. Yeah, there it is. It's because I was on the wrong page. I like. Go back into screen share. And what you're going to see in just a second is a web page pop up. There we go. So I'm going to activate this. And along the very, very top there, if you go to just on your phone and type in, oh, just 1 second. That at the top there, polev.com.
Just on your messages, is it, Sam? Or
No, just on a web page. polev.com.
Is it case sensitive?
No, don't appear to be. It's just gone in for me. And then when you click into it, it'll probably come up if you put in polev.com. It'll probably be the top research. And then when you click into that little link, it'll say polev.com, and then your username is 123 people dev, PEOPLEDEV, and then it's 3 zeros, 1 2 3, and then join. And then you can type your name in and continue. And then I'm going to submit the first word. There you go. And then it'll ask you to enter a response. And you can type as many words in as you want. And what this will do is it will create a word cloud. So I've put in 2 now. How are you getting on with it?
Just still trying to get in. Ah, right, okay.
There we go. Is that you, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay, just keep going. I'll put a few in. You doing it now, Dave?
Yeah.
And it just builds. Oh, that must mean a couple of you have put thinking. Reflect, yeah. Press pause, I think that one is. Yeah, if you leave a gap in it, it will make it 2 words.
Ah, right.
Give you another minute just to put some more in.
Is this a subscription service you pay for, Sam? I've not heard of this one before.
Nope, it's free.
It's amazing, this.
It's good, isn't it? What I can actually do is you can also make it full screen. So there you go. You can do that with it as well, which makes it obviously even better visually, shall we say. Good, isn't it? You can do all sorts of stuff. You can do polls and all sorts, but I quite like the word cloud.
Yeah.
I think it's quite funky. Just tell me when you're done and I'll turn it off.
Yeah, okay.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Are you
Got
done,
one
Dave?
more. If I can get one more, it's just frozen at the moment.
That's all right. I think all the systems...
Meditate. If you can pop that one in for us, because mine's frozen. Meditate.
There you go. Fantastic. Look at that.
Fab.
Perfect. What I'll do is I'll take a snip of that and I'll put that on LinkedIn later.
Yeah.
As well. But yeah, it's quite funky, isn't it?
Yeah, it's cool, that.
So let me flip back then to the slide where we were just a moment ago, because that I can also just pop that on as well, because I just take a snip of it, because you can, just as a separate note, if you ever use this, you can actually, where it says enter the 1 2 3 people dev, you can get that personalized for you. You just have to make sure it's personalized for whatever your business. Really good, and it's free as well. So good.
Good grief.
Absolutely clever, isn't it? So
Love that.
all of these things is what we were saying just a second ago, as if by magic, as if I knew some of the things. Yeah. Get yourself a nice coffee, meditate, eat well, exercise, talk. The amount of times that seems to be coming up at the moment is talk,
Yeah.
laugh.
Communicate.
Oh, absolutely. And pets as well, the amount of people that are saying, you know, pets. I know quite a few people that have gone out and bought new pets, etc., that will have them now for the next 20 years after lockdown, you know.
Yeah. But they reckon that if you stroke an animal, whether it be a cat, whether it be a dog, it's great for your blood pressure.
Yeah, it is.
Scientifically proven.
Yeah, it says. I completely agree with you. So yeah, all of those things we said just a second ago. So brilliant. So I'm going to get you now to put your commitment down. What are you going to commit to doing after today's session?
Right.
And you can put yours in chat, Dave.
Okay.
Chris, feel free to put it on the whiteboard if you want. It's completely up to you. Slow down, yeah. You need to slow down, you.
Thanks, Mum.
Yeah. Okay. Not walk past the mirror, but stand in front of it and hold it up. Oh, I like it, Dave.
Yeah. I think that's what this session's made me think. That's what I alluded to before. I think I've been not. Yeah, if I'm honest, sometimes kidding myself, and so, as you know, I love the mindset. But sometimes the expression "physician heal thyself" comes up.
Okay.
So I think that's what I need to do.
Brilliant.
Definitely, that's what's made me think.
What was the expression? I didn't quite catch what you said.
It's
Physician heal thyself. And in the chat, I got not walk past the mirror, but stand in front of it and hold it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, physician heal thyself. You know, sometimes it's all very well giving advice, but you take it yourself.
Tough. Absolutely. Very good at that, aren't we, as human beings?
Oh yeah, 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 very much so.
Are.
Yeah, actually this has come up quite a lot recently. Sort of do as I do, not as I say.
Yeah.
When people have been caught out being going against the social clampdown, like the Scottish lady, was it the health advisor went to us?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're telling you to behave, but we don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people just been so caught out on that, and it's destroyed a career, lack of integrity for a short while.
Yeah, for in essence, insubordination in a sense. Silly girl. Quite agree with you. Brilliant stuff. Okay, thank you for those. So we're going to close the session now. Do you have any questions, thoughts, comments?
Just to say thank you for your time, Sam.
Right.
It's been great chatting with like-minded people. I think sometimes you spend so much time trying to convince people to think differently, and I don't think we haven't had that here. So we've been very open with one another, and I think that's a great thing, that you can come together as a collective and not have this getting over hurdles before you even start chatting.
Yeah.
And I think that was great. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and it was good to meet you as well, Chris.
Yeah, you too, Dave. Well, for me, thank you for doing it. I think for me, it's been a refresher.
Okay.
When we spoke the other night, I was feeling maybe not in the best place I could have been, which you no doubt picked up on. But I think sometimes you need something like this just to help you refocus.
Yeah, you certainly do. And when you kind of look at what we've been through today, there's actually quite a lot there.
Yeah.
If we're being honest, and you kind of forget some of it, and like you've said, if no other reason, it kind of just serves as that reminder for you to just press that pause button, to just be a little bit more mindful for yourself, never mind others. Then absolutely, it's been a
cool.
good time. Good time used. Anything that's kind of highlighted to you? Anything else that you want to kind of add, shall we say?
Well, for me, I think seeing you present again was a good refresher because a couple of years ago when we did the CDOL course, I wish I had more notes from that. So, yeah, it's been a good refresher for that point of view as well. And also to see you using Zoom compared to some of the other systems we've tried in the past and WebEx and other things. So I think from that point of view, to see it in action being used professionally is impressive.
Yeah. It's a nice system. I really like it. And when I came in, Dave, because I went into Pareto a few weeks back to do a train the trainer. I'd never used it ever. And I went in to do the train the trainer on it. And I said, look, know all the principles, don't know the platform. Let's learn together. And that's what we did in that day. It was brilliant. I learnt it that day.
Yeah, it's good. It is good.
You're going to send us the slides, Sam?
I'll send you the recording. And then obviously you've got all of that on there as well. But you know my details anyway. So if you need anything, then just give us a shout. Yeah, but I'll fling that recording over to you. I think I've recorded it on the cloud, so it's easier. I made the fatal error of recording it separately on my computer, and then I've had to transfer it out to everybody.
Right.
But never mind. Let's see how this one works, shall we say?
Perfect.
This particular time, absolutely. I am clicking forwards. It's not moving. Quotes there. This one's another good one. Fear is a reaction, courage is a decision.
Yeah.
I like that and all.
Yeah.
And tell me I forget, teach me and I may remember, and involve me and I learn.
And I think that's the one. Yeah, involve me is the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It certainly is.
Cool.
Okay. So thank you very much. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
You're most welcome.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, no problem. Stay safe, guys. Stay well.
You too.
And if you need anything at all, you know where I am.
Yeah. You too.
And
Okay.
I'll put that